Hell yeah.
Yeah, a little dogma to start the evening. Javier, hello, sir. Checking in from the depths of Hurricane, was it Milford or Milton or
Milton.
Milton?
Yeah. If they steal my stapler, I'm going to burn the building down.
Oh, is that guy's name?
Yeah, Milton. I sent a picture of Milton to our friend Andrew down in Florida earlier this week. I said, somebody better return the fucking stapler.
He's not even in Florida.
I know.
That was pretty smart on his part. I asked him, I was like, hey, man, so since you ain't in Florida, where'd you leave my plate carrier? And he's like, Ashley brought it with her. Yes, I knew I liked that woman for a reason.
Yeah. Hashtag favorite schmirschmick.
Yes, my favorite Schmurferdurperlurperdus.
Adam Hall. Hello,
Steven.
sir.
Stephen, we were just talking about you moments ago before the live chat started. Nothing good, so carry on. All right.
Which one's Steven? Is that Nevitz?
Yes, if you spell that backwards.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the 794 is. Probably the caliber that he shoots. 7.
What if it's 497? What if that one's backwards too?
Oh, is that like doing barbiturates? 420 is weed. 497 is some other drug. Quaaludes. I don't even know what barbiturates are. Like, I don't know the name of a barbiturate. I just like saying the word.
Yeah, I always thought Quaaludes seemed interesting, or at least from watching Wolf of Wall Street.
I vaguely remember that movie.
Well, the only reason really to remember that movie is Margot Robbie. But
yep, that's what I remember.
Man, that's my jam right there.
Quaaludes, they're your jam.
Well,
Quaaludes and Margot Robbie.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do them both.
So my new jam apparently is the band that was playing on the intro, which probably YouTube's gonna fucking kank it because it's copyrighted music. But the band is Dogma, and it's a bunch of hot nuns, and they're pretty good. Like, they lured me right in with the hot nun thing, and I dig the music, as it turns out.
Dude, that cover's great. Totally should have been the song in Deadpool Wolverine. Have you seen that yet?
Yes, I have. What a great movie.
Oh my God.
I think it's only the second movie I've seen since they shut all the theaters down there in Wuhan.
Somebody asked me how much I love that movie, and I said it was basically like a 20-year edging session to orgasm. Picture that one in your head, guys.
Tom Hollaby, hello, sir. Oh, Javier, do you guys do anything in particular to rust-proof the fire control unit on your 365? I've tried salt water.
Yeah, you do the opposite.
And as it turns out, the gun just still worked after 8 weeks in salt water. So, no, I'll not be doing anything. I will say this. My XS Big Dot, the front sight, it rusted so bad that it got paper thin and literally disappeared at the very edge of the white ball. So, like, the white ball now extends further down the side of the sight, because the sight, I mean, it's real thin anyway, but yeah, it rusted away.
And that's the one that you put in salt water?
Yep. It was a bitch to get that cleaned up, but I don't know if you noticed, and this is a short plug for XS, and I hope they're cool with, because I think they've announced it. The DXW Pro sights, I think they're only out for Glock at this point. But instead of being parkerized or whatever black finish they did, they're like melanited, like the same shit that a Glock slide's done with. To keep them more corrosion resistant. However, that also means if you have to run a file on the bottom of the sight to thin it out so it fits a dovetail, good luck.
Yeah, you're gonna have to You're gonna have to file through melanite.
Yep. I mean, eventually, once you get through the outside, you get to the soft, chewy center. But I don't. I'm just going to use a 20-ton press and push that fucker in regardless.
I would hope they didn't actually melanite the bottom. Like they would probably just leave that because like the rust on that side just locks it all together.
Yeah, that's a great place for some rust. I don't know. I haven't looked at the bottom of them. I have known about them for. Well, whenever I went to XS is when I heard about them, but I'm pretty sure the Glock ones have dropped to the internet.
Javier found his regular 365 locked up with rust. Locked up, like the slide was locked up, or the trigger components were all locked up. I've seen some pretty like rusty getting SIGs, but nothing that where it wouldn't like.
Yeah.
But I've seen them broken. Like I've seen them malfunction to a point where they're not doing it. But that didn't have anything to do with the rust. It had something to do with like some parts getting worn and shit getting like misaligned or something like that. As a matter of fact,
really, the one that I had, the one I call Rusty Workman, I don't know what else you could do to make it rust more.
Trigger was locked up. Interesting.
Well, look at that. We got our first question out of the way already.
I know.
And I didn't even get to tonight's sponsor.
Oh.
Tonight's live chat is brought to you by Bulletin.net, the #1 resource for finding training wherever you're at. I just made you a tagline up, so hopefully that's okay with the CEO.
The official Bulletin tagline is for, but that's just because it's catchy and clever.
You should get that laser engraved on a Magpul ejection port cover.
Yes, I should. I know a guy who has some connections in getting Magpul ejection port covers. Lasered.
Laser. Yep, I could probably make that introduction for you. It would be most awesome on a blue one, but they don't do blue like Magpul doesn't do blue. I'd even put that on my sim gun. You can't close the ejection port door, so it wouldn't matter what's on the outside of it.
Yeah, it would stay like that all the time.
But on the inside, when the door is open, maybe like the N, and then for training purposes only.
Yeah. I'll get you the graphic.
Get one Cerakoted blue first. Or I wish they made it in gray because my sim gun's gray and yellow. So.
Oh, with the ghost can on the front?
Yep.
And by ghost can, it's literally a fake can shrink wrapped with a ghost label from the outside of a can.
Yep. Good stuff.
I saw the pictures of
hello, sir.
I saw the pictures from Fish One this weekend with someone running a ghost can.
Yes. Benjamin was borrowing that.
Yep.
He came basically as like the range bitch.
Yep.
But I let him get a couple runs in because I had him help me move things around and set up and tear down. But it also gave him like some windows of not doing anything. So he just picked up my rifle and would get a run through the house. And then I made the mistake at the end of the day. I wanted to get a run through the house. So I grabbed that rifle and I said, hey, if you guys want to set it up so I don't know what's coming, like, go ahead. So, how many rooms are in that shoot house? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms, and then a small little room, the bathroom in the one room. So
right.
6.5 rooms plus a couple hallways. They took every fucking target that I had like in my truck. So I think there was 30 fucking shoot targets in those 6.5 rooms. They had them fucking everywhere. And they even turned a couple around and did like no shoots with hostage shots trying to fucking catch me up. And I was like, good Lord, fellas. And some of them, as they called it, they were a little cheeky. They like put them flat in somewhere where like a person couldn't fit. Like, hey, well,
Oh,
tape it
that's
to the
just
back of the
cheating.
door. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Or like those corners where it's like it's angled in the corner, you can't even see it. It
Yeah.
takes up no room.
But either way, it was a good time. Fish one was a pleasant time, and I do believe. Oh, Iroquois foreskin, hello, sir. I do believe that the 1 day format is more enjoyable. It's gotten more positive reviews than the folks who had done the like fish one, fish two back to back. Nobody ever said, I can't fucking do that. But when I did just fish one on a whole day and no follow-up day and then moved that a month out, there was a lot of good feedback from that. So I think what's going to happen is when we run through all 6 of the fishes, I'm just going to, like, I think that ends in, say, April. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it's March. But I think the following month, I'm just going to start it over again and just have a fish class per month forever.
Makes sense.
Unless it's like a travel class, because I ain't go traveling all the way to fucking Idaho to do a 1 day class. Like, we'll put a bunch of them together.
Do multiple.
But yeah, it was a good time. You were missed, sir.
Yeah, I was busy with family stuff on Saturday.
But we made fun of you a couple times.
Of course.
Anytime I was like, well, that was fucked up because Mike wasn't here to keep me on track. So moving on.
I do that, don't I?
You do. You said do as well.
That voodoo that you do. Do.
Ooh. No, little, what is that? Harry Connick Jr. maybe?
Maybe.
Or maybe he did that too, as well as whoever did it originally, was probably like Frank Sinatra or something. And I'm totally fucking just pulling a name out of a hat. So before anybody gets all pissed off, I'm like, I was, James Dean or who fuck ever.
Yes. Michael Bublé.
Is that a real person?
Yeah.
No.
He's like a crooner, like the modern day, like James Dean-ish type of guy. He's a bit baby face though.
I don't. I thought you were just making up a name.
No, he's real.
Just like the fellow who checked in, Austin
Colomayo.
I have not heard from him in quite some time. I hope you're doing well out there, good sir.
I miss that guy.
Yeah, me too. He is all right. I mean, for a New Yorker.
Yeah. Although I hear he makes good distilled spirits.
Oh, I've never had any of his distilled spirits.
I haven't yet either, but apparently he makes them. Or at least it seems that way. Austin, you can confirm that.
30 seconds after we asked.
Yeah. I was like, okay, we'll wait.
Oh, been slinging liquor. Look at that.
Max. Hello, sir.
He said he saw a picture of the work done at Mainville. That went very well. It took longer than I wanted, like most jobs. Back in a previous life, when I used to run jobs for one of the companies I was at, I would always look at something and be like, oh, that should take like 5 hours. So then I would just be like, oh, that's 2 days. And sure enough, like every time I would just pad fucking schedules, we always ended right on fucking schedule. Of course, for myself, I went, it'll be like a couple of guys, like 1 day, it'd be great. And it turned into 3 days, but it was finished and turned out well. And I have no idea if the fucking club digs it. I only talked to one person there, and he said it looked great, and from the pictures I sent. We'll see what the rest of the club thinks. I guess the good news is when we go to the club meeting, whatever the fuck day that is, and give them like a progress report, aka it's done, they can literally open the door and look at it.
Well, that's cool.
And Stephen, you're correct. I don't need you to stop up on Saturday. There is still Like I'm gonna go over one of these days with a garden rake and rake up some of the weeds that we fucking weed whacked everywhere. Like we had a fucking weed whacker that the gas powered weed whacker, but the spinny thing, like the little, on a normal like, what's the opposite? Commercial grade, consumer grade weed whacker. It's like the little plastic line. This thing had fucking steel braided cables sticking out of it. But we chopped down fucking weeds. It probably had like ankle deep piles of weeds everywhere we chopped them down. And some of them were big enough to require a chainsaw.
Those are some big weeds if they require a chainsaw. I'm pretty sure that goes into.
I was like, I don't know if this might count as a vine because it's no longer a weed. And then there was just shit that needed chainsawed as well. And I found all kinds of fucking 2x4s and 2x6s like in the weeds that look like they have been there for 30 years and just been overgrown. So I drug all those out. So I'll probably go over one day this week and just figure out where I'm going to burn all that shit. I mean, I don't know what else to do with it all. But otherwise, it's all done.
Nice. Yeah, that was another day I missed because I was stupid and busy doing other things like preparing for the radio class this coming weekend.
Ah, yes, the good old radio class.
Mm-hmm.
You missed out on some good benefits. So before we talk about the radio class, I want to throw some thanks out there.
Oh yeah, there were some dudes that earned some free training credits this weekend.
Yep. So before I left the house, I took Benjamin with me, and we were chatting, and I said, everybody that gets to on Sunday, because I thought it was just going to be Sunday. Everybody that's here, that's there by 10 o'clock, will never pay for training from me ever again. And everybody that was there by 10 o'clock now has free training for life from Tremis Dynamics, no range fees, no consumable costs, and it covers hosted classes as well. Then when other folks started showing up late, I think the next little swath of people got all of 2025 for free, tuition free. Down to the last guy that showed up got all of the rest of this fish tour for free. And then I had to go back on Monday, was going to meet a couple of guys there on Monday as well. Some of them actually showed up. All of those dudes got a free custom shop First Wave holster and I gave them out of my own personal stash a box of Defiant 9mm TCX.
Ooh.
And then I had to go back on Monday, and there was on Tuesday, there was one lucky person who was there for all 3 days, and they got the first free Tremis Dynamic signature rifle for helping out.
Oh, nice.
And I was hoping would be available to give away at the muster, but wasn't, but it became available, and that's who it went to.
Oh, very cool.
Hopefully that person will chime in with who they are and pictures of it, but they weren't real keen on the idea of bragging up that they got free shit.
Well, that's how this world works, though, is making everyone jealous.
That's what I thought. But
of your cool guy stuff that you get for free.
As it turns out, when somebody takes time off of work to come volunteer to help a buddy out, they're also not the kind of guy that just likes to run around and make other people jealous. Like they've obviously got a whole different set of priorities than the average Joe.
Look at that. You got Kyle already offering to keep coming back and help you.
We're good, Kyle. You don't need to come up. I'm just going to do some raking and moving some of that fucking wood around. Oh, I did find out. Man, I used a DeWalt electric chainsaw, and that was fucking legit. I only own a gas-powered chainsaw, which, if you don't use it for a couple of years, then it's difficult to get it started and running, and it's heavy and loud. And wow, that battery-powered thing, I think like the thickest thing I cut was probably a big around, and man, it worked great. I was super impressed.
Battery-powered stuff is fucking awesome nowadays, man.
Yeah, I was plenty stuff. So of course I instantly came home and said, "Well, I got all these Ryobi power tools in the basement. Does Ryobi make one that I can use the same battery?" And they do, but it's like this big.
Yeah, the big battery, right?
No, no, no. The whole chainsaw is like this big.
Oh,
And I went, that's not what I want.
that's the one that goes on the end of like a pole arm.
Well, we have one of those already,
Oh,
but it doesn't come off. Well, maybe it does come off the pole. I assume it has to come off, but like when the pole breaks down, the saw stays on the end of one of the poles, and then the control and the other pole, breaks apart into two poles. Uh, but yeah, it's like that size. And I went, don't they make a bigger one? And they do. And then the bigger one has the fucking McChunky battery that I don't own any of, which means I don't really need to stick with Ryobi because it's not
yeah.
compatible with the batteries. But I foresee an electric chainsaw sometime in my near future.
I have the Ryobi one. It's pretty dang good, and it works with my big honkin' battery leaf blower. So,
My leaf blower still uses the smaller battery.
oh, that's probably smarter.
Well, I also have a sidewalk that's like 20 feet long. That's all I have to leaf blow. So the 18-volt battery only needs to last 45 seconds. Steven says electrics are fantastic for trimming and maintaining. Yeah, like the little stuff that we were doing over there, it was perfect versus my big ass steel one. I wish it was a Husqvarna. Not that I know if Husqvarna is any better, but it's a cool word to say, just like barbiturates. Like I want to run a Husqvarna on barbiturate.
Is that the those are the big legit ones, right? Like
Yeah,
Husqvarnas. Is that what or Steel? Is that another like
yeah,
high end chainsaw?
yeah, and that's how I pronounce it because that's what I heard someone pronounce it like. STILHL, I guess it is.
Oh, is it not? What's the other way to pronounce that word?
I heard a young kid once call it a still and not a steel, and I was like, I don't know. I'm sure it's fucking European, so who knows how it's supposed to be pronounced. But it ain't as cool as saying Husqvarna.
No, Husqvarna is better.
Milwaukee, Ryobi, Cobalt. I'm supposed to not use the words DeWalt and legit together.
I thought DeWalt's pretty dang good, or at least for the consumer grade stuff.
I will say this about DeWalt: their color scheme is fucking awesome.
Steel is what Forrester used, and a lot of professional chainsaw carvers that he knows.
Well, I know they're one of the big names when I watch the what the fuck would you call it? Like the lumberjack game?
Yeah.
ESPN.
But I mean, I was more like surprised in that comment than how many professional chainsaw carvers do you know? Like
that is a good question.
Like I mean, I'm at zero. Like having one would be like, oh yeah, like I know a chainsaw carver that likes this. Like to be able to throw out there like all the chainsaw carvers that are professionals that I know, they all speak very highly of steel. Like,
well, I guess if you know two,
yeah,
that's how I would say it too. All of them.
Oh, you embellish numbers. That would never happen.
That's not an embellishment. It's a factual statement. All of them like this.
Oh, your automatic thing is putting up links for combat art training.
I think that was from back when I announced Andrew's 2 classes, and I never turned it off because Andrew will be up here in December.
Yeah, and he's a good guy too. So you should go check out combat art training.
Yeah, he'll be here. I still have it in my notes.
December
7th. Skills, and the kind of off the cuff has been called pistol cheat codes. And then on the 8th, he's going to do a red dot pistol. And in between those two, so the night of the 7th, I am running a low light pistol workshop. And if you take either of Andrew's classes when you sign up for it, he will give a coupon code to get that class for half off. So that's pretty cool. I don't know how many people he has signed up, but I have a couple signed up for the night portion, and they've used the coupon code. So I assume that means he's at least got a couple of them guys for his class because they got the code from him. And they're people I don't know. So
Nice.
he got me a couple extra students that way. Good job, Andrew. Maybe I get him a couple. Who knows?
Yeah, that's how we do.
Speaking of new students, there was a pile of new ones that showed up for Fish 1 last weekend. I guess not a pile of them. A good portion of them did a private class with me a couple weeks before that, but a bunch of them at that private class signed up for Fish 1. And one of those motherfuckers, who now I had seen for 2 days total, drove like 2 hours with a trailer behind his truck with a bobcat in it with an auger for the bobcat for Sunday.
Wow.
I was like, man, that's a hard charging motherfucker right there. I mean, he was late as shit, but he didn't show up with an auger. That's way better than a post hole digger by 10 million times. I'd still be over there with a fucking post hole digger.
Cool.
A couple of them were like, it was all rocks.
Yeah.
Like the uprights we put in started on the right side, just soft, smushy soil. And as you went, it got more and more rocky until all the way over on the left, it was just fucking rocks. It was like we were trying to dig a hole on the railroad tracks. But we were talking about Andrew. I knew what we wanted to get back to. The radio class.
Oh, yeah.
Day 0 radio ops. That is coming up in like a few days, 4 or 5 days.
It sure is. Well, it's not really the first time we're offering this specific class.
No, because it's got a new name.
Right. It's probably the 4th time that we're doing it used to be called the Radio Ops Primer.
Yep.
Or Primer, depending on where you're from in the world.
Yep.
And we just made the decision to rebrand it based off of our current nomenclature of beginner level classes.
Yep. Day 0 kind of fits with the a full day hands-on beginner class.
Yeah, like, hey, this is your first day in this subject.
Yeah, and primers tend to be half day or like 3 to 4 hour seminar onlys.
Right.
And it definitely Day 0 fits the description better.
Yeah, it's just like the Day 0 pistol, Day 0 rifle, or Day 0 carbine, whatever we call the long gun one. But yeah, we're rocking that. It's the first time we're going to be offering it in the Allentown area. We're going to be at the Days Inn over in Allentown, running out of there for a half a day for the lecture, and then I've got some shenanigans planned
out and about
for the out and about portion around the area to kind of do an exercise in the afternoon, which I think is the best part about it, because man, you could sit in a classroom all day and learn all this radio stuff, but the best part is getting to go push buttons and do a thing.
Yep.
And not a lot. I mean, I think before we made this class, and I've, other classes have taken this approach too, which I'm a big fan of, hey, we're going to learn some stuff. You gotta learn some of the things in the lecture format, but the big part of the day is getting you ready to go out and like do the thing. Like, hey, what can we actually use these radios for, and why is it important?
That's where I think the real learning comes in. You can't skip the talky parts, because it's way easier to get someone pointed the right direction when you start the conversation with, hey, you remember this morning when we talked about this?
Yeah.
And they go, oh yes. And then you work that problem together to get them doing the right thing. But if you skip the we talked about it this morning, they're gonna be like, I don't fucking know what to do with this thing.
Yeah, like smash.
I only need one button, the button that says talk.
Yeah.
Why are there so many other ones?
And it's telling me push to talk.
But I don't need one that says EMG RH. I don't know what the fuck that button does, by the way.
Yeah, I off the top of my head, I couldn't even tell you.
Well, the button itself says HMRV, but above it says EMG in orange and HH in white, and beside it C in red. So, I you know what button I don't ever push on this radio? That one.
Yeah. That's the problem with these fucking radios. Oh, the HMR. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, they come with so many damn functions on them that, like, unless you're a master's level like engineer of radio theory, you'll never be able to squeeze every feature out of that thing that it has.
This is what I imagine. Like, there's guys that do with the radios like we do, and there's 4 functions or whatever on it that we're like, I like this. And there are other dudes that do something different that never touch the 4 functions we're interested in, but they got 4 other functions that they fucking love the shit out of and don't use any of the other ones either. And I just imagine different subsets of what types of radio jockeys there are that they're like, oh, I don't ever use that other shit. But this I like.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone like Yasu says, oh, just make a radio that's good for all of those guys. And they can just use the parts when they want, except when you're a retard like myself, you go, all right, was there some way to erase all the other functions? And while we're at it, can I take the buttons off? Because
I don't need all these.
I'm going to push the wrong one at the wrong time and find myself in a menu that I don't know how to get out of.
Right. Yeah, some of the radios are so complicated that I've had to like produce or like take like basically a curriculum for particular radios. Like I had a bunch of guys once be like, "Hey, I want to use this Yaesu better. So we want you to come over and do private training just to teach us on how to use the Yaesu, not anything else."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's different. It runs completely different than any, like, it's not even like you can make the analogy between like an AK and an AR. Like, it's like those things are like as long as I run the thing and do the thing, it works. Yep. Right. Like, this is basically saying like, well, okay, well, if we put the trigger inside the buttstock and you have to finger it from behind, like,
Yep. Like I can't even find the thing I need.
Yeah. Instead of pressing the trigger, you actually have to pull it. Like, you actually have to push it away from your body. Like, like the mechanicals are different. And like the way that it stores stuff and the way that you use the radio. However, like, that's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, that's stupid. Why wouldn't it work just like a Bofang or whatever? And then you pick it up and you go, oh, you know what? This thing is way faster to use and way more intuitive once you get used to the operations on it.
Oh yeah. When people pull out their Chinese potato fang, whether it be the bow or the quan, and go, hey man, how do I get to the whatever? I'm like, I don't remember anymore what anything on that radio does. Because I've basically blocked it out of my memory on purpose. And then just use the Yaesu so much that I'm like, oh, I can find my way around without opening the manual. Or I should say, I can find my way to do the things I use on it.
Yeah.
Without opening the manual. Now, by the same token, I have a PDF of the manual on my phone.
Right.
So that if I do get lost, I can fucking scroll through it and not have to worry. If I don't have cell signal, it doesn't matter. The PDF's on the phone.
Yeah.
And then I can be like, how do I change this again? But for the most part, everything that we like to use it for, I've made it not maybe second nature, but I can stare at it for long enough to go, aha, now I remember.
Right. And it's far more important to know what you want it to do than it is to know exactly how to do it, because you can look that up, or you can be like, hey man, how do I do How do I do the thing? Like, how do I get it to manual mode or to VFO mode or whatever?
Yeah, which one of these buttons is it?
Which one of the buttons do I press for that again? What's way harder is getting across the idea of what VFO mode is.
Oh yeah. Well, luckily, I know a guy that teaches a class,
Yeah,
and
and that's what that was the impetus for the class itself, was just teaching people how to use VFO mode on a radio. The ability to carry a searchable PDF is an amazing thing. Yes, it is. 100%.
yeah, because the fucking paper manual for that is bigger than the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Although I saw that some company makes like a little, like a 4-page laminated like cheat sheet,
Mm-hmm.
and I went, I bet you we could get that down to a front and back of 1 page. And if that ever happens, like if you basically do the work for me and figure out what that cheat sheet should look like, I will keep one in the pouch with the radio.
Yeah, we might even be able to get it down to like something that just fits like
Ooh.
a square and just put it as a sticker, you know?
Yep, I'm digging that.
You know, the most important
feature.
feature. Yeah, that'd be sweet. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the radio class. We haven't taught it in a while. A few people were asking for it. Plenty of space is still open if anybody is listening and interested.
You probably missed this, but we had about 5 minutes before I got online. We did have another sign up.
Oh, did we? Awesome.
Yep. One of the fellas that from that private class.
Hell yes. And a couple of dudes from the tactical response classes that were here up last weekend too.
Yep. And that was a good time. I met some new folks there who I enjoyed hanging out with.
The best of times.
Jay and Lewis stayed here at the house.
Mm-hmm.
Also great stuff. Lewis said that sitting around my dining room table, he should have got all his
microphones out
and just set them on the table just to listen to the conversation and record it for posterity's sake.
Yeah, when Max and I were going up there, he's like, "Man, you should record all this." I'm like, "No." Like, I want to. Like, I would love to. It's gold. Like the discussions around that table and like, you know, things that we were chatting about in terms of like, well, what can we push? What in the world is it that like hasn't been explored yet in the areas of tactical and firearms training?
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, though, it's like, you know what? Maybe that deserves to be at the table. Like maybe that it is special because it's us, and like not everybody needs to see behind the curtain at all times.
Well, but I think like Lewis's idea was so that he could go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
Versus a something for other folks.
Right.
Because I'm sure we talked about stuff that I have already forgot we talked about, and it'll pop up in my mind next year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, I think I had a conversation about this.
Didn't we have a conversation about using 2 pistols at the same time with a magnet on your chest?
Yep. I know people in the live chat are like, wait, what? Yep, that was a conversation.
It sure was. We may have figured out how magnets should actually be employed in firearms training.
Yeah.
And it's none of the things that currently exist.
Nope, not anything. And it didn't come from hey, I got this fucking neodymium magnet. What can I do with it? It started with crossing a threshold and ended up with, what if I had a magnet on my chest? That would have solved this other problem that was a problem because of another thing that we talked about that was happening because of a previous thing we talked about. And like it ended up being a solution of, what about a magnet? And I was like, man, we're fucking smart. I don't know if any of that ever warrants any further information, but the fact that we had an idea and then picked it apart and fixed it all while we were sitting around the table, like that table has had some fucking most excellent conversations around it.
Nice.
Like that. I almost want to, like that table has some sort of special place in my life that when it's not the table in my dining room anymore, it will go somewhere else that people will still be able to sit at it and have round table instructional type conversations.
It's got to be. It's seen too much training ass right now to
Yep.
to put it any other way. Oh, Stephen will be at the class this weekend.
He will. He
Yeah.
will indeed. I think he's the only other fella who's popped into the chat who's going to be there.
Yeah.
I even went into the settings and turned off Andrew's thing, and it's still showing up.
He's a persistent guy, like he kind of just sticks in your brain. So
He does. In fact, I deleted it off of the. Yeah, I don't think I just turned it off, toggled it off. I think I hit delete, and there it is. And I toggled bulletin on, and it ain't showed up. So
it's all right. It's an easy name to remember. Bulletin.net for all of your training needs. Or you should come join us at the Bulletin community on Facebook.
Indeed.
And talk about classes that you take or want to take.
Or want someone to bring to your location.
Exactly.
Because it turns out there are instructors on there as well.
Yes. It's a good network of people. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty stoked. Or it's pretty awesome. I'm stoked about it. And I have told many a folk, like I've bragged it up, not in your presence. That's my boy over there doing the Lord's work.
Well, somebody's got to step out and promote training as a whole, not just one particular school or one particular area. Like, it's not a lot of people doing it. So, you know what? Training is important. All those guys out there are doing the hard work. Someone's got to give them the accolades. So
I will say that for the most part, most of the trainers who I am in awe of their ability to instruct fucking suck at promoting what they do.
They do.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's like an inverse proportion, like the better you are at the training, the shittier you are at the promoting, because that some folks do both well. And some, a lot of people, predominantly most of the people who can call themselves firearms instructors don't do either well. Because those numbers are legion compared to the people I actually consider to be my colleagues. But most of my colleagues are not good at the promotional part.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I maybe think that it's the better the instructor, the worse the promoter, because sometimes that's what it seems like.
Yeah. Well, being a firearms instructor is a profession, right? Like that's what you want to do. Running a business is a job. Like,
oh, indeed.
Yeah, like that's work. So that's the thing where it takes so much extra effort to like figure out how to like promote the whole thing. And like
and most people that they're not experts in more than a couple of things, and rarely is it guns, teaching, and running a computer.
The third one does not compute with the first two usually.
And most people who are good at guns aren't good at teaching. So like it's tough to find someone that obviously the easy answer is, hey, you just need other people to do some of that shit for you. But then there's like this is like the scary part for me. If somebody else's paycheck depends on how well I do my job, all the aspects of it, then I start to get concerned. Like, oh, I didn't do a very good job of getting people interested in this class, so nobody's going to sign up, and now we're not going to have the class, and now I can't pay, Tina, the lady who runs the computer for me. So hence I don't have a Tina or
right.
a Marilyn or a whoever. I don't even know any Tinas. That's why I picked Tina. Right now, there's somebody watching this who's named Tina going, you know me, Gary. What the fuck? We went to school together. And I don't think I went to school with a Tina. So, and if I did, now I really feel like a piece of shit. So.
You don't know any Christinas or Tinas.
I know some Christines, but I don't think any of them are even Christinas. I could be mistaken. I'm terrible with names. Why did you drag me into this? So anywho, the radio class is coming up, and we have 2 questions that are radio related.
Ooh, a
So I think
question
we
I
should
might be able to answer for
yeah,
once on one
I
of these
think we should get to those since we're in that
in the block, in the
yeah,
radio block.
in the radio block, and then we can just go to the other questions after it.
Sure.
Because then we bridge the radio to the question with the radio question. So here are the 2. I have 2 radio questions that came through, and the first one only is defined as a question because there is a question mark at the end of it. But the question was constant able question mark.
Well,
I'm nodding my head.
yes.
Yes.
If it's just constant able question mark, you can answer that as a yes or no question, and the answer is yes.
Absolutely yes. I actually dug this fucking Bowman headset out of my pile of stuff because of constant able.
Brought to you by these guys.
Yes.
Is it backwards?
Yes.
Oh, bummer.
SEO2.
I'm like, oh, I can't read that. I don't. Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, I've been backwards the whole time.
You have been.
Let's
now
see.
We'll get the focus to come. There it is. Disco 32.
Yeah, these guys are awesome. Josh, I think, is the name of the guy who owns Disco.
Yes. Josh.
We met him at SHOT Show, and man, he's just super impressive. Like the stuff that they put out, the kind of business that he's built over the years of mixing the tactical and the like professional and really like civilian world, because there's nobody else that does it like he does. Like there's nobody else out there making products that are accessible radio wise to civilians, period. Like well, maybe there are, but they're more ham stuff. He does it like in a sense of like for guys like us that just want like solutions, not to like learn theory and like figure out tinkering and like, oh, well, this impedance of this thing, if I swap out the diodes, will it fit this obscure board of things that nobody like? That's ham stuff.
Like he looked at the world of, I have these Peltors and I need to talk to my civilian friends through my Peltors.
Right.
And the civilian world said, well, we got these cool radios because we can't get anything made by Harris. You know, an Embitter or a Prick, whatever fucking model those are.
Yeah.
But we don't have, what do you need this stupid thing on your head for with earmuffs so that you can't hear? Like, that's dumb.
Right.
And he said, hey, I'm going to make that civilian radio and this military fucking headset work together. And 18 people out there in Pennsylvania are going to buy the shit out of my stuff.
Yeah. Like dozens. I probably have 30 some odd orders over the years with Disco 32. Like easily.
Yeah. I know I'm way into double digits.
Yeah.
Because there's always a solution for something.
Yep.
And just to begin with their push to talk, which was, what is it, the U74?
U74? U97? Whatever it is.
Is it even on the thing? U94A.
Yeah, he uses the like a U94 housing and then rewires the inside, I think.
Yep.
To work with either the high impedance or low impedance, military, civilian headsets. He's got all the different options and all that stuff. And then whatever connector you could possibly need, he's got all of it. Like, it's perfect. Like nobody else does that. It's awesome.
Nope. And then like the part that brought us into this with the constant able. So what that apparently is, because I'm not much more clued in than anybody else. I have the internet and I follow along.
Yep.
They made their own housing. They designed housing and all the innards. So it's still a push to talk, but it's shaped a little different. I do like the mechanical qualities of it as well.
And it's shaped in a way that it's a lot harder to accidentally press, like unlike a U94 or whatever that thing is.
Yeah. And you buy it for whatever radio. So like if it has like a Yaesu watertight screw and
Connector.
plug, you pick that. And then anything you fucking plug into it works. Like
Yep.
any headset, any type of mic, it just says, okay, this is what you need, and I'll change.
Yep. Active mic, non-active mic, high impedance or low impedance headsets. It'll work with all of them. Different wirings, like it'll work with NATO wiring, Peltor wiring,
Yep.
standard mill wire. I don't know how many different wirings there are, but those are like legit problems that people just wring their hands about because they're like,
Yeah,
oh, I got
this
this.
fucking Bowman headset I got, like it doesn't plug into anything that my Peltors plug into. Like nothing is the same. The plug looks the same, like the little TP, whatever the fuck it's called, 120 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that plug looks the same, but it doesn't work with anything that Peltors work with. So that was buy a new fucking push to talk, and now I'm like, I'm just gonna buy the constant Able and plug this into it when I want, and plug Peltors into it when I want. And like I bought this thing with the idea of, hey, what if I'm just walking around my property and with a rifle, checking things out, patrolling, one might say, without any intent to go shooting. Do I want to wear a fucking pair of Peltors for the next 4 or 5 hours in the woods? Probably not. But would I like somebody to be able to reach me on said radio without it just a speaker mic blasting into the woods? This thing might be great. Like this ear is all open, and this it's all air ventilated, like it's not a closed system, but it offers no hearing protection. Like, man, this thing will be great. And then I ran into the technical issue of how do I make that work with this?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pain in my butt. And now it's got to work with this, which means I got to buy a new fucking push to talk for Peltors that fits this Motorola connection, and another one that fits the Bowman, or I just wait for Constant Able to come out and plug whatever I want into it.
Now, if in a perfect world where Josh listens to this live stream, which is totally not probably ever going to happen, but if they could figure out how to make the down lead from that push to talk swappable, holy shit.
Man, that'd be awesome.
So that I could spend $25 or $30 or whatever on just a different down lead from that to a different radio. That would be the tits.
Yep. I gave me a little chubby just thinking about it.
Man, it would have been so much nicer to have some what's the right word? Modularity to it over the years. But yeah, I mean, and you know what the worst part is? I think the Constant Able is really, really cool. I'm probably not getting one because I don't have a need for one right now. And I've finally landed on radios that I already have push to talks for. So I'm not going to go through the hassle of selling one push to talk just to get another push to talk, because I already have all of the stuff that works with that push to talk. But if there's ever a different radio in the future, if I ever get a push to talk again, it's 100% going to be the Constant Able.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky that I have 2 of these radios and only one push to talk. So if I want to run dual radios,
you're going to need another one.
I need a second one. So just been holding off for Constant Able. And then that means if I want to switch to this Bowman, I'm not running dual radios with it. It doesn't do that.
Right.
Nor do I need it to do that for the purposes I would use this setup, which means as long as I own one Constant Able, I can have the old U94 style for the other one. And so I think the pre-order opens in 2 days. I don't know when the ship date is, but they're doing a pre-order. I want to say he said October 11th.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pre-order one with whatever Motorola
M3.
I couldn't remember. Hence the reason that I wanted to talk to you was because I had to ask again which one.
Yeah, the HD2 and the HD1 from Alliance run. They both have the Motorola M3 connector.
M3. I can remember that because it's like the BMW M3.
Yes.
Did you know that is one of, I want to say, 3 or 4 cars in existence that has 100 horsepower per liter of displacement.
Wow.
And of the 4 cars that reach that, they're all BMWs.
Wow.
I don't know if it's true, but I saw it in a BMW ad in a magazine some years ago. So
You can't trust those advertisers. They lie all the time.
They do, because they might be like, well, we only meant, in classes of cars that had over 1 million models sold, in mainland Europe, or whatever. But yeah, so Constant Able, yes,
yes.
Yep.
100%. And I would bet that over time they're probably just going to move to that,
and not even have these anymore.
I would bet. I bet you they're going to sell out of those, and then as they sell out of models, they're just going to make different Constant Able models.
Yep, agreed. All right, so that was question 1 on the comms. By the way, Turtle, hello, I do see your comment there.
Turtle, how are you holding up down there? How are things? I think is landfall this evening for Milton.
I heard. I think my wife said she heard 9 p.m. landfall. So,
is it?
That'd be right fucking now.
Yeah, I heard there was going to be like a 13-foot storm surge in Tampa. It's like, holy shit!
Why can't we get one of those in Chicago?
But I mean, I think the maximum elevation in Florida is 13 feet, isn't it?
Yeah, 13 feet of water in Florida makes Georgia our most southern state.
Right.
Steven says he guesses his first push to talk will be a Constant Able once he gets some ear pro.
That's the hardest part. Like the freaking Peltor market is terrible. Like I'm waiting for somebody to come and bring like a good like military style headset to the civilian market. That would be amazing. And there might be people that do that, but I don't think any of them have really kind of caught fire yet.
So, you want to know what I heard? Speaking of headsets, this could just be the rumor mill, but Scuttlebutt says that sometime between now and the end of January, we're going to hear about Comtac 8s, which are going to be essentially Comtac 7 capable ear pro at Comtac 5 prices.
No fucking way. Well, Comtac 5 prices are still $1,000.
They're like $600 or $700.
Maybe if you have a retailer that isn't like gouging, but I like brand new in box like Comtac 5s I've seen for $8 recently.
That's what I see 6s going for now.
Yeah, I mean you might as well buy 6s at that price. So you never like and like the used market is hit or miss, but man, they're worth it, but
right now Comtac 7s are like $2,400.
Yeah, no, that's
a big pile of fucking. I don't think so.
Yeah, a whole pile of nope. And I don't need that stuff. Like it was all types of extra buttons and doodads and switches and plugs and things, and I just need a set that has 2 leads that goes to radio, and then.
Well, that is the one thing about 7s that I like. Dual com, single com, it's all the same headset.
Sure.
Which I wish had been the case since, Comtac 2s.
Well, that's like that's the OpsCore model, isn't it? They all have, I think it's the same headset for OpsCore, and then you just buy down leads. And
yeah, I think you're correct. But isn't their down lead like retardedly expensive?
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. But
it's a $7 cable, and I want to say it's like $250.
Oh yeah. However, I will say this for OpsCore. While it's retardedly expensive, and I will never have them because of that, I will at least give them the credit for not having a Defender model.
Oh, like a non-comms?
Yeah, because they sell them with no comms, but all you have to do is buy the down lead and stick it into the ridiculously overpriced Ear Pro, and all of a sudden you have comms. As opposed to Peltor, who created this whole Defender market, quote unquote, for people that think that Comtacs mean radio connectivity, and then they buy these things that are called Peltor Comtac Defenders, and all of a sudden they have a $700 set of Ear Pro.
Yeah.
That's immoral, in my opinion. Like those should not exist. They should be called sport tax
Yeah,
because that's
like
what
the
they
sport
are.
tracks are.
Yeah. Come
Uh,
on, Peltor. Oh,
oh shit!
can you hear me still?
I can hear you.
All right, I got to switch my camera. My battery died.
Oh, that works.
There we go.
Yeah, I have the little fake battery box that goes in the battery thing.
Yeah, yeah. I got
The wall.
mine's down in the studio at the moment.
All right, so the next comms question. Do you still recommend a Yaesu VX6R, or do you recommend one of the new HD2 encrypted radios? This is for a person or group that does not have a commo guy and they need to be able to set it up simply.
That's
Because
tough.
the first half of the question, do you recommend a Yaesu? I nodded my head when I read it, or the HD2, and I nodded my head when I read it. I was like, yeah, I recommend them both.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read the qualifier and went,
Hmm.
well, if I didn't have Mike, this thing would never see the light of day.
Yes. I will say there is a very, very high nerd factor needed for making the DMR digital encrypted radios work. Like, it's not even like I won't even sugarcoat it. It took me a month to like dig in and really learn how that whole system works and to understand DMR and how talk groups work and encryption and radio IDs and all this other stuff that like doesn't usually come with using analog radios. What I'll say is that radio still has all the same capability as a regular like analog radio. But if you don't have a comms guy right now, yeah, I would probably say this is your like the Yaesu VX6R is probably your kind of Cadillac gold standard, like, default answer for everything. Like, it is the best radio that you can get that is an analog radio for handheld, in my opinion. Like,
I tell folks it's the Glock 19 of radios.
yeah, it's ubiquitous. Like, it should be. It's priced at a point where yeah, it's way more expensive than a Bofang, but it has all the quality and capability to it that makes it worth it. The build quality alone is like worth the $250 that it costs. But what I will say is, do I think it's the bee's knees of everything? No, I'm a big fan of the encrypted thing, especially in the world that we live in now, where I think it's an important asset to have and to know how to do. So much so that I like devoted a lot of time and energy into putting a group of people together that all have those radios, and going through the hassle of getting an FCC license so that I can legally, without consequence, run encryption on radios wherever I go. All that's capable, all that's doable, by the way. And to do a little bit of a shameless self plug, like, if you need a guy to help you do that, I will do that. Like, that's a bulletin offering, is helping small groups and businesses get set up with
BCC,
yeah.
Bulletin Communications Consulting.
Yeah, there you go. We'll coin that one, put it on the website or something.
Yep, it's all
But
yours. You can have it.
like, here's the thing: you need a commo guy to get this network up and running. Like, you need computers, you need like some knowledge in base, like, not computer programming, but like, it's a pretty labor intensive task. But if you can, you should. Like, that's a really kind of big upgrade in capability. and that's the radio that I would choose right now to do it in a heartbeat, because I've put it through several hard use classes. I've gotten it wet a lot of times, purposefully so, dunking it in water, doing all the things. Like, it passes the hard use test, and it's capable, and it runs, and it's cross compatible with a bunch of other cool shit that we've now started employing, like man pack radios, um, that also run DMR encryption, that can be used as repeaters, mobile repeater units, that can also then be placed into cars. So, it's more of a future proof kind of answer, is the way that I would put into it. So, like, yeah, like, if you don't have a commo guy, this is like easy. Like, you can learn to front panel program it right out of the box. Like, it's harder to do that on the HD2, but I will say, it's the radio itself is less expensive, and um it does still have all that same capability. Like, you can front panel program it, and you can run analog on it. It's just a lot harder to understand and know all the sub menus, and it's, at the end of the day, it's a Chinese radio, so it's like, it's absolute garbage to, like, push buttons on. They're terrible. Like, the menu is just god awful.
Oh, that's because don't they read like right to left or up to down or something?
I have no idea. It's really it's just like submenus and like truncation of words that just makes it really difficult to understand what things do, and it's not very intuitive. But you spend enough time in it, you get used to it. It's like, navigating a VCR menu in the 90s. Like,
Mm.
you figure out how to record, the HBO movie of the week, because you know how to put the time codes in and stuff.
So we
That's
got a couple questions that popped up
Yeah.
uh, on the chat. How many spare radio batteries do you keep? I bought a 2-pack for the HD2. Actually, they were for the HD1, but everything I said,
Yep.
Red said the HD2 works with HD1 batteries, and it appears to do so. Nothing has caught on fire yet.
Yep.
And I want to say I had, so I have two HD2 radios, and I got a total of 4 batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for the Yaesu, I have 2 VX6Rs, and I had a total of 6 batteries. But I currently have 4 because the two original Japanese batteries have shit the bed.
Yeah, that's actually one downside of it's really the only downside I've found with the VX6Rs. Like, the original batteries, and it may just be a lifespan thing, but the original batteries, for, I think we've had 4 or 5 now from our group that have shit the bed. Like,
Yep.
5 people, so it might have been multiple batteries per person too. So, like, I know I've had at least 2 that I've had to swap out for new batteries.
Yep.
Um,
Same.
and like,
Both my Yaesu factory batteries died.
yeah.
Stop
So,
charging.
I mean, we're also talking like 5 years of use on a battery. So, or 4 years maybe at this point. Like,
And I want to say the replacements. I got Chinese replacements because the Yaesu brand one is like
oh
$70.
yeah, yeah,
But
I don't
I
bet.
was getting like 2 Chinese ones for $25. And I was like, oh, well, for $70, I can get 6 of these.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll do that.
Mm-hmm. And they work just fine.
They actually
Um,
have a higher milliamp hour
yep.
rating than the Japanese one does.
What I will say though is a huge advantage of some of the newer radios, because honestly, this is like I would bet this is probably like a 15-year-old radio at this point. The
Mhm.
VX6R, maybe even older. The newer stuff has USB-C interface. So while it comes with a charging cradle, which is awesome and convenient, the fact that I can run a USB-C cable into that, like, straight out of the box, is awesome. I actually just bought an adapter to do that with the VX6R too, but like, the USB-C thing is great, and it's just a more modern radio, so it's definitely got some features on there.
Yeah, I have the car charger for the Yaesu.
Yep.
And the one end is a USB A, like, and the other end's the proprietary Yaesu.
Barrel connector plug or
Yep.
whatever it
And I
is.
was like, man, if that was USB C, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised that the Chinese companies making batteries for these don't just put a fucking hole in the back of the battery.
Well, they do that. Like some of the cheaper radios, they started doing that. Like there's USB-C connector, like Bofang uh, radio or batteries now. But then you're spending as much on the battery as you are on a Bofang. So like,
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for that, but
might as well just buy
might
another radio.
might do one for Yesu.
Right.
Uh,
But yeah, to your point, like at least one extra battery per radio. Like just because at the very worst or it's not worst case scenario, but like so that if the battery shits the bed, you at least have one while you buy another one, so that you can always have a reserve on hand. Because like if you keep
and
them
even then,
charged,
even in your gear, if it shits the bed, at 3 a.m., you have one to get you through till the morning to put the dead one on a charger somewhere.
right? And if you only run one radio, I would definitely have more than one spare. Like I only have one spare per radio because I also have a spare. I have several spare radios.
Yep.
Like,
well, I got a radio here and a radio here. If this battery dies, I may have a spare battery in my pack for it, but I also got a whole fucking radio
attached to the other spare battery.
Yep.
It's the same thing as a backup gun, right? Like,
Yep. I got a spare mag.
Where do you keep your spare magazine? In another gun. Like that works too.
So then, Aiden wants to know how much red tape is involved in getting a small business FCC licensed.
So this is a bit of a doozy. There are several different types of small business, or we'll just call them business class FCC licenses. The two main types are a fixed location, like station, basically running a repeater or a base station in a fixed location, where you have to get what's called coordination, so that you're basically owning a certain frequency in an area. That's a lot harder to do, but it's all still doable. It just means you got to pay like a company extra money to do what's called coordination, so that you're getting a radio frequency that doesn't interfere with other ones in your area. Then there is a series of frequencies called the itinerant business band, which essentially is like a professional use. We'll call it like an FRS or a MERS type system, where there's a certain list of reserved frequencies that can be used across the entire United States. And you can apply for a license to use those bands, or sorry, those frequencies, based on your business use. So running a company that travels nationally, that has to deal with training, especially on radios, that qualified me for usage across the United States on those itinerant business bands. And then I have a list of 8 frequencies that are licensed to me as part of that, licensed to Bulletin to be used. And on those itinerant business bands, you can use encryption. And you don't have to broadcast your call sign. You don't have to identify yourself. You can use them for any legitimate business purpose. And you can obfuscate. You can do digital. You can send information over the airwaves. It's for business purposes. So it's not a shit ton of red tape. It's just tedious. And I've gone through the application. It actually took me 2 tries to get through the application. I failed the first time because I had the wrong information in there, and then I did some more learning and got it right the second time. So it's a pain in the ass, but what thing in the federal government isn't, I guess, is really the thing at the end of the day.
All right. I'm digging up your link, Adam. Dave Shutt wants to know how do the batteries hold up in the cold for both radios? I haven't owned the HD2 long enough to be in a cold season, so I can't comment on that.
I guess we'll have to figure out this winter. It seems like a good excuse to go out in the cold.
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
My Yaesu batteries, I can't say in the times we used them like out in the snow, that I ever noticed a difference than when we did stuff in the summer, but also like we never did things like 4 days outside in the snow.
True.
We're like, hey, we're gonna go do some training, and then I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna uh, charge my shit, like same as when I swap the batteries in the flashlight and et cetera, et cetera. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, we've been out in the cold with the Yaesu battery. I would say that it was no different than really any other use. Like like if you went out with a full battery, I don't think we've ever gone out long enough to like basically kill the battery. They last a very long time. Like
yeah.
longer than pretty much anybody would likely be out in the woods unless you're going out for like weeks at a time. So like 72 hours I don't think would be unreasonable to expect coming from pretty much any radio regardless of like weather, except for when the battery starts dying, in which case it only lasts maybe a few hours and then it doesn't matter what the temperature is.
Adam, your link for the Chinese batteries is popping up in a moment. I will warn you that I purchased them for $27.99 when I clicked rebuy, and that was in December of 2022. They are now $42.99. That's for a pair of them. So it was much cheaper when I bought them 2 years ago than it is today, but still $42 for two of them. The Yaesu factory battery is like $69 for one, so it's still a way better deal.
Mm-hmm.
I should have actually set that up because I have an Amazon shop. I should have put the link up so that I got like a commission off of it, but I wasn't sitting here and going through all that to for you to buy batteries and me to make 47 cents off of it.
Zach Bush, hello sir.
The good old Zachinator. And the other question was, with the DMR, can you jump in with a group running potato fangs and work with them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're talking this DMR, yes. That's what makes the HD2, I think, the most awesome of the awesome.
Yeah, we have them set up so that they can run seamlessly in both digital DMR and analog. So that's part of what took so long to kind of make sure that was the right radio for us, because like we train with a bunch of dudes that all use different types of radios. So it had several things it needed to meet. It needed to be dual band, like VFR, or sorry, V yeah, VHF and UHF.
Yep.
2 meter, 70 centimeter. Like they had to have both of those because we have people that run both frequencies, and you have different uses for those two sets of or two bands, right? So and you can't predict who you're going to run into that runs in either one of those. So there's radios out there that are single band and have some of the features, but this was the first one to be dual band DMR. So with the ability to be encrypted and waterproof, and
Yeah.
not just water resistant, because there's other ones out there like a BTEC, I think, BT82 or something like that, which is by all accounts been very robust in water or in wet environments. However, somebody made the stupid decision to put a Kenwood pin connector on the side, which completely negates the fact that it's water resistant in any way, shape, or form, because basically you have these two gaping holes on the side of the radio that can let water in if you have it connected to anything. So it needed to have a waterproof connector and be a waterproof radio. Like,
Yeah.
And this was the first one to come out that did all that. So, or at least that we knew of.
Way back in the day when I first was looking at switching out of my bow fangs, after destroying them in humidity, not even getting like actual rain on them. The thing that made me first go, are these Yaesus any good? Is they literally print the word submersible. It's the second biggest word on the face of the radio besides the word Yaesu. And I was like, okay, Those motherfuckers are pretty proud of the fact that we can put this thing in water. And I was tired of losing electronic shit to water.
Mm-hmm.
And that became like a hard and fast. And I'm a weirdo. Like when we talk gear now, and I know gear talks queer talk and all that. Like the very first thing that throw out there is like, how waterproof is it? Like how long can it be submerged and still work? And because if we don't even get to submerged, I don't care. I don't want it. I don't care. I have no interest in it whatsoever. To sell me on it, it needs to be submergible and still function while it's submerged. And I know we've done that test with like radios where we get a pitcher of water and we drop the radio in it and then still broadcast to that radio and listen to it come out of the pitcher of water because it's, playing it on the speaker. We're like, yes, that's what I need out of anything that has power to it. It all needs to go underwater and be usable.
I've thrown money away trying to do that with radios that we're not supposed to do that with.
Mark Box, hello, sir.
Yeah, but it's important. Like, and to just recap on Adam's question, I think it was Adam with the DMR. Like, I think it's important for especially if you don't know exactly the group that you're going to be connecting with, like for instance, like we're all part of a larger community of people that know guns, right? Like only some of them know radios. Some of them run radios in different ways than others. Most of them, a vast majority of anybody that even touches a radio in this world does it with a UV5R running VHF UHF. So there's a million of those radios out there. And to say like, oh, well, I can't, like we should, whatever we do shouldn't talk to those is kind of crazy because you're going to most likely, if shit ever happens, like call it like a BLM riot, Summer of Love, whatever type of thing, Kenosha, like that shit, you're going to need to pull together ad hoc networks of people. And if you have a really closed radio set that can't talk to other groups, you're probably going to regret it. You're gonna be like, man, it's so awesome that I could talk to these 3 other people. And then you can't talk to anybody else. So it's got to be.
Well, I know dudes that went all DMR for their little group. And I was like, do you not let new people in your group? Because that dude's coming with the bow thing.
Yeah, well, I think I know some groups, and they're really cool. They're Motorola. I can't remember the model name, but essentially it's a tiny like 0.5 watt frequency hopping 900 megahertz band radio. We know a few people that have those. And it's a very consumer grade, out of the box, quote unquote, secure type of radio that offers a level of, I'm not going to say encryption because it's not encrypted, but the fact that it jumps radio frequencies in a pattern that is unique to the identifier that gets put into it makes it relatively secure. So it's way more secure than running
open
Bowfangs or whatever. And it's about the same probably capability as those in terms of like range, but they don't have any of the modularity that you'd want from radio. You can't change the antenna. You can't switch anything out on them. They don't have replaceable batteries on some of them. Like there's a lot of limitations with it. And they've only got a 0.5 watt power, and that's it. There's no other options for that. There's no mobile options. There's no larger radios that work. There's no repeaters that work with that system. So it's a very kind of niche, like, system in itself. So it could be cool for like, hey, I have a house or a large compound and we all run these radios. Great. But like, it won't work with anybody outside of that.
Yeah. You're welcome, Adam, for the link. Willie says, so the best bet is to keep it dry. Well, it depends what it is. because some it's like we just spend all of our waking hours thinking how to get it wet. Anyhow, but even the radio that says submergible, I still try to keep it dry. Like that's my second layer of defense. If you have a potato fang, yes, by all means, you need to keep it dry. All right, so we got two more questions, and I think they'll be quick and easy. They're not radio related. You're more than welcome to give me your input as if you like, especially this first one. This comes from Iroquois Foreskin. Have you heard of rubbing your feet with alcohol before a walk or a ruck? And if so, what are your thoughts? I've never heard of it. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I have no idea what that would benefit.
You can't get drunk absorbing alcohol through your feet. Like it's got to go in your rectum or something. I don't know what they're looking to do with the alcohol on the feet. So there's one question. Next one. I have a strong opinion on this one. I heard over the weekend that AR style rifles should be carried in a vehicle in a cruiser ready configuration since they have a free floating firing pin. And if hit during an accident, the inertia can cause a strike of the primer. True or myth?
You said with an AR?
Yes. Now, I understand that by the rules of definitions and all that, ARs are not drop safe as there is nothing physically preventing the firing pin from moving. However, it's total bullshit, just like it is with fucking shotguns. And nobody can ever recreate an AR, certainly never an AR. No one can recreate a fucking 12 gauge going off with any sort of violent motions. If it was a thing, you could make it happen on purpose. What you always get is it's a fucking Speedwagon story. I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who, in his department, a guy flipped his patrol car and blew a hole in the roof or something. Never do you get the guy who had it happen. Like, I don't know who this dude is. A bunch of people know someone who knows this one guy, but that one guy has never come forward. And every once in a while, I'll read, never hear, not in person, but read someone say, yeah, it happened to a guy in my department. Like, I know the guy it happened to. And then I'm like, hey, bro, so I know you do patrol work and you're not a detective because you can't even tell when a motherfucker had an ND and is lying to you about how it happened. Because it was a dude fucking around with the trigger and then had to claim that something happened. Like, then he ran his car into a bollard at the parking lot at Sheetz so that he could claim his ND was from not
the impact. Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm going with. Like, a motherfucker's going to have to work to prove to me otherwise.
Yeah, I think the whole cruiser ready thing for the drop safeness is bullshit. Like, they don't do that. Like, I mean, theoretically maybe, like, you could, if you slam that thing up against a wall, like in the perfect orientation, like they did with all those fucking SIG pistols, where the inertia was able to, like, in the right orientation, like, actually depress the trigger.
That was repeatable too.
And repeatable, yeah.
Which it isn't for anything else, but
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, could you find the magic angle and amount of inertia to impart on a gun to make it happen? Probably, but in practical usage, no. Like, I don't think that's real. However, I do cruiser ready when in one very kind of specific circumstance. Like, if I'm putting a gun in a car that I don't have, like, like put into an orientation that will keep it from flopping around, like in the footwell of the front of the car. Like if it's just laying on the back seat and there's other shit in the back seat, I put it into cruiser ready just because it has nothing to do with inertia. It has everything to do with the fact that I don't have a trigger guard. Like it's an open trigger guard,
Yeah.
so I don't want
Yeah.
shit pressing the trigger.
The safety and the trigger can both be manipulated by moving it around the vehicle.
Right.
That says, oh, well, we shouldn't have anything in it then. That makes sense to me, 1,000%.
But it's a small use case because, like, you know, I mean, if shit can move around, then you should probably find a situation where you secure the gun. But that's priority number one, and then you can keep it loaded and make sure it doesn't do anything stupid. But if you got to put it back there, like, oh, we don't have any room up here in the front seat, and we got to stick it in the back here in between some bags or something, yeah, just make it cruiser ready. And especially if it like flops over, some people put like guns in the like orientation, like it's got to go front and back, like in the bed of a truck or something. Like,
yeah,
make that shit cruiser ready and like tuck it in, like,
or like if you have an SUV and you're putting it back in the storage area and it's laying facing you, or if you have a truck vault in your pickup truck,
yeah,
you can't put the gun sideways. It only fits in the truck vault front to back.
exactly. So like, you know, use your head, like use the tools that are available to you for whatever situation you got going on. But for the reasons that people usually do them for, like, that's silly. Like, what if it falls over? Okay.
Stephen did have a question, and I have an answer, but it isn't the answer he is looking for. He wants to know where to get the HD2 battery with the C charger port in it.
Oh, they have them right on the Retivis website, like wherever you can get HD2s on there.
He said the ones on Amazon do not have the port, and I want to say mine were from Amazon and don't have the port.
Oh, really?
On my
Hold on, stand by.
I'm in a whole different floor for me to go check. The one I brought up has it, and I just went and looked on Amazon, and those don't. You are correct.
I can verify that the ones from the Retivis website, which does not have any shipping charges, there's no shipping charges added. Those have USB chargers on them.
Well, there you go. Get them from the factory.
I mean, they take a while because I think they ship them from China, but
yeah, get them now.
Retivis shipping is ridiculous. When I got them, there was no shipping charge. Weird. I could be wrong. They may run specials every now and then. I get emails from them all the time now because I bought like 13 radios directly from them, and they think that I really like them. I guess. I don't know.
I have to say that I struggled with their online shopping cart quite extensively, trying to order my radio, but what was I going to say? I don't remember. Oh, when I was doing it, the shipping was free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was free.
And you got one of those, they run these crazy deals on them, and like the price went down a bunch since they first came out. I think they were almost $200 when they first came out, which is still a decent price for what the radio is. And now they're like 160 or something, and if you buy two of them, it's like 130 or something. I'm not 100% sure. Like the price kind of changes, and they went down. So
yeah, the price did go down, because I want to say when I got mine, it was like a little over 300 for two of them. Like, yeah, I got the 2-pack deal. But I'm on their website now, and I have no idea.
Oh, their website's terrible. It's made by the same people who make the interface on the fucking radio itself.
Well, they have a lot more fucking radios than. There we go. $21.99, 3,200 milliamp, 7.4 volt lithium ion battery with Type C port for HD1.
That's the ticket right there.
Free shipping is what it says right on the website. Add to cart in stock right now.
So Adon says, what are the it depends considerations for picking the next radio, I assume, after a Baofeng?
Well, if you don't have a radio guy who can figure out how to make this do all the cool stuff and you're not going to do it yourself, that's the it depends. Otherwise, it's this guy.
Yeah. I don't, there are radios that exist in between. Like, I'll admit, like, there are, I mean, there's millions of them. Like, between the price point of the, I think UV5Rs are like $16 on Amazon right now.
No shit. They don't even
like-
make that anymore.
Yeah. And you could just buy them in bulk, and like there's use in that, like being able to basically like give a radio to like 30 people at once. Okay. But in between that and a VX6R are a bunch of different price points, but in my opinion, I wouldn't bother with any of them. Like it would just jump right up to, hey, I'm gonna actually be a big boy and spend a little bit of fucking money on a decent radio. Like, suck it up, buy one less fucking Safe Queen AR, and buy decent gear. Like, it's not that hard. Like, a lot of people like hem and haw over this radio thing, but this radio does the same thing these other radios do. No, it doesn't. So does the gun. Like your Daniel Defense rifle does the same exact thing as like a what's a budget brand AR, like a Palmetto State Armory. Although I would say that those are probably not that bad.
Yeah.
Like an Arrow. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I'm struggling like a Model 1 sales, which I'm sure most people don't even remember.
And Anderson,
Anderson.
Yeah, like they do the same thing. Like, you can't make an argument that they like if you put the time and effort into them, that you can employ them in the same way. But you spend money on the Daniel Defense or the Midwest gun or whatever, because you realize that there is a difference in quality, and that money that you spend on guns vastly outspends anything that you would ever consider on a radio, which actually has electronics and components in it that like actually matter. Like that's this can be as life-saving and as much of a force multiplier as the AR that you have. I would say in situations like we're seeing right now down in Florida or North Carolina, that thing can save your life a lot faster than the AR can. Like, and those things happen on global scale, like, regional scales. Like, hey, I need help, and I'm I've got an injury back in some holler in North Carolina right now. There are people that, are probably going to die because they don't have any communication with the outside world.
And I sure as shit in that situation, either of those two places you just mentioned, I want a radio or all my gear that will work when it's wet.
Yes.
Because there's a whole lot of wet. I don't know if anyone caught that or not, but there was a lot of, when people are like, I don't go anywhere to get submerged. Yep, that's what they used to think in Main Street, fucking Asheville, North Carolina, too.
Right.
Until it became submerged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't like to admit that, like, they're like, I don't know what it is with the radios, man. Like, they are like, no, everyone has a puckered asshole when it comes to like spending more than $30 on a radio.
Yeah, a box of fucking ammo is their limit for the cost of a radio. And if you are willing to play the used market, you can get a VX6R with a submergible push-to-talk and a pair of Comtac 2s for the price of a Glock 19.
It's you'll spend a lot more time trying to find it, but
trying to find a deal on some old Comtacs. But
it's it's important though. Like, if you're serious about the comm stuff, and I consider serious to be anything more than, I need something other than a Baofeng. Like, if you're considering that, you should consider taking things seriously. Like you should figure out how to do some comms planning, like what other capabilities you need, how to set up a network of people. Like those are the really big serious things. And like then the hardware starts falling away too. Like it doesn't matter what hardware you're using. Like what's more important is getting like talking to the people that you want to talk to. But like anything more than a Baofeng is serious, and then anything serious needs to have robustness.
So interesting. I think with what you just mentioned, where could someone get started in how to put all that together?
Well,
maybe if they have free this weekend.
Yeah, if you're free on Sunday, you should come to the day zero radio ops class because we talk about all that shit.
Indeed. I thought it was a great segue.
Yes.
Steven said he picked up some batteries for his HD2. While you were talking, Mike, I also ordered 2 batteries for my HD2.
The USB-C is important.
That also now gives me 4 spare batteries.
Yeah.
So win-win.
Do you want to scoop up a decent set for comms between radio and ear pro? Yeah.
Notice he starts with, I missed a lot of this.
Yes.
When we talked about it.
Yeah. Well, come to the radio class, sir. It is this Sunday. And you know what we really should be pushing, and maybe, just maybe, if we because I know Iroquois is signed up for the Wolverine Warfare class, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If we get a halfway decent turnout from this, or people saying yes, I will commit to taking a class on this day or whatever, maybe we can run another one before Wolverine Warfare, like, or
yeah.
I have an advanced version of the class on the books for, or like in outline form for a year or so now. So, maybe we can get that on the books too. But it's tough. Like there weren't a shit ton of signups for this. So like, even though people are like, oh, bring the radio class, we want radio classes. Like, all right, well, people got to show up, like, for us to want to hold them. So.
Yeah, I was with the amount of people, because it's been so long since we did one, it kind of built up more folks who've been introduced to what we do. They're like, oh, well, when that comes, now that I know you guys, when this comes, I'm in. And the folks who did it saying, yeah, I don't practice enough and I need to take it again. Like there was probably more than most other classes was bring this back. Probably number 2. The number 2 most requested, when is this coming back? With the amount of people that said they wanted it to come back, I would have suspected that it'd be standing room only in the class.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, we're just, with everybody in the room, we're just going to break double digits of people between students and instructors. And so like, I was curious that like, why isn't it so huge?
Yeah.
But,
it's also good that like we care about teaching this stuff. Like if it was a slog of a class, it'd be like, but like this is important. It's important stuff, like for us to get out there and teach to people, because no one else does it. I mean, there's a few, and I have some recommendations in the class for other classes to take, and others that will be coming to the area in 2025 that I'm already working on. But yeah, like there's not a lot. It's not like firearms training where there's like a dime a dozen dudes out there like teaching firearms stuff across the country.
Agreed.
Come to Detroit. All right. If you got 6 people, we'll come to, or I'll come to Detroit and teach radio stuff.
I'll come with them. I even drive part of the way.
And I just threw out 6 just because, well, we'd probably need to set up some other classes too, like for a trip all the way out to Detroit. But
the good news is, since it's a one-day thing, we could do another class of some other type.
Yeah, exactly. But 6 would be the minimum.
We're like, oh, Aiden said he'll come.
Nice.
Probably get Wexler to shoot up there too.
Yeah.
There we go. And there's the thing. When guys say, hey, come to Detroit, and I'm not picking on you, Jerry, I'll come to Detroit. we need X number of guys. They're like, well, you got one. What we need is a motherfucker who's there already to get the word out and get more than the one. Not, well, I know you guys live in a whole different time zone. Can you find students in my area? Motherfucker, you live there, you find them.
Yeah.
So that's how that works. If you want this class in Detroit, you find enough people to run this class in Detroit.
Yeah, and talk to us. We'll make
you can look on like the Legio page, because when Aiden said, hey, I'm in, he's an alum, so it should be easy to find him. Wexler lives up that way. It should be easy to find him. There you've got 3. So you don't have to only find guys that like from the place where you work. I know that's a tall order.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, somebody on the ground needs to put some legwork in to make that happen. And then usually the guy that puts all that legwork in and finds us the place to do it and makes all those arrangements, that dude doesn't pay for class. So
nope,
you get something out of doing all the work.
He said he'll make it happen.
Dude, that message wasn't all for you, man. That was a general FYI for anybody that might still be tuned in 2 hours into this.
Yeah, we've gone way later than you usually go. That's what happens when I'm here.
Yeah, you usually help me fill out the time. Then we got all nerdy on radio stuff. All right, so we're like 2 hours in. So what do you say we bail on this thing?
Pop Smoke.
So the radio class is coming up this Sunday. The what is that? The
13th.
13th.
October 13th in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We got the Day Zero radio ops course that, man.
And there is a discount code floating around.
Yes.
Where can someone find the discount code?
Well, it's very complicated. It's bulletin. So the word bulletin without the I. That's how you spell it.
There's no I in bulletin.
There's no I in bulletin. And you get $25 off the class.
There you go. He literally just shared the code on the live chat.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to go anywhere special to find it. He just shared it.
Yep. So we got that going on this weekend. It's a good time. We got some other classes coming up.
Vehicle dynamic.
Yeah.
Vehicle dynamics coming up following weekend. Day 3 vehicle and a vehicle low light workshop the weekend after that.
Yep. Lots of vehicle stuff.
Yep.
You know what works well in vehicles? Radios.
Turns out day 3 radio requires the use of one of these in every fucking drill. It's all right if you don't have one. I'll give you a fucking potato fang to use. You'll really wish you had a better radio, but that's my sales pitch to get a Yaesu is I'll put a shit radio in your hand and make you use it all day.
Yep.
All right. So with that, that was our good wrap up. We'll see some of you guys next Wednesday. If you all asked Mike real nicely, I need you to go over to the Bulletin Facebook group and beg him with multiple posts to be on the future live chats to convince him that it's worth his time and energy.
Yeah, the Bulletin community. That's the Facebook group.
What radio are you holding? I missed that part.
Jesus Christ.
And he's going to make it happen. He can't even make it happen. How many times we've talked about a fucking Yaesu VX6R?
Yeah, you don't follow the channel much, brother. If you're asking what this is, like these are the Cadillac of analog radios, the Yaesu VX6R. But it's not the be all end all, because there's cool shit out there that is encrypted, but you missed all that. So,
yep. All right, so let's get out of here, dude.
All right,
peoples. We'll see you next week.